Hariharalaya was an ancient capital of the early Angkorian Empire. It came to be at the end of the 8th century. Its name represents the Hindu deities Shiva and Vishnu, gods that figured prominently prior to the rise of Buddhism. Eclipsed in fame by later capitals, it was wonderful to explore these holy sites and admire early Khmer temple construction. Our excursion took us on a scalding hot day to the 3 temple ruins known collectively as the Rolos group, the site of the vanished city of Hariharalaya. It's located roughly 15 kilometers southeast of the empire's later capitals. Preako and the other ruins around here like Lolai and Bakon are some of the oldest. These ruins are actually much older than Angkor Wat or Angkor Thom. Throughout all the periods of Angkorian history, laterite seems to be a favored building material. You see it everywhere. Preako consists of a great sandstone platform from which 6 brick towers rise. Devoted to Shiva, the temple also serves as a form of memorial. The king dedicated each of the towers to his father, his grandfather, mother, grandmother, and the founder of the Khmer Empire, Jayavarman II, and his wife. As you can see, this was obviously a Hindu temple. All early Khmer temples had Sanskrit inscriptions. After a certain period, inscriptions in early Khmer began to appear. This city's founder did leave his capital at one point, but returned to Hariharalaya sometime towards the end of his reign. The reasons for his departure and subsequent return are unclear. It may have had something to do with the region's ability to produce food, fish and rice being plentiful. You know, it's really difficult to walk around these ruins and not let your imagination run wild. One can only imagine what it actually looked like back in the 8th and 9th century, filled with people and priests and all sorts of activity. Walking along the outer temple grounds, one could be transported to a world buzzing with the activity of the hundreds who worked and prayed here. Leaving Preako, I kept on wondering how it all once looked. I imagined whitewashed walls, splashes of red paint, and gilded statuary throughout the compound. Surrounding it all, a sprawl of long-vanished timber constructions. Our excursion continues. We are now at the Bakon, dedicated by Indra, I believe, Indra I. I can't tell you how many Nagas I've seen here in Cambodia and in Thailand. This is one of the coolest Nagas I've seen by far. Indravarman I succeeded his cousin, Jayavarman III, in 877 of the Common Era. The temple sanctuaries he built were the most impressive of their day. His uncle Jayavarman II is seen as the great founder of the Khmer Empire. However, it is Indrivarman I who initiated the extensive Khmer building program that subsequent monarchs would follow for centuries, culminating with the great works of Angkor Thom under Jayavarman VII's rule. Prior to its consecration as the Khmer capital, Hariharalaya existed as a city. The ruins of several smaller temples from an earlier date have been found in the area. The exact location of King Jayavarman II's palace and temple are not known. However, some surmise it may have been located where Pirako would later be built. Others think that it is about 3 kilometers south of where the Bakon now stands. Okay, now we're within the Bakon, and right behind me is the Temple Mountain. Bakon was the official state temple of Angkor, but it only had that designation for a relatively short period of time. The Temple Mount is like a step pyramid, and we are about to go up the 5 levels now. 1 level down, 4 to go. Second level, and from here you can get a really excellent appreciation of the outer courtyard. When I first came here, I was pleasantly surprised to see how much conservation was going on. With various starts and stops due to the turmoils of the previous century, many of the lost temples and shrines of Angkor have been painstakingly pieced back together in some cases. Some of these monuments suffered more weathering than others. Incidents of vandalism also took their toll as well. Because of the size and scope of this ancient urban sprawl, I believe that the conservationists' work will never be done. Unlike Angkor Wat, this is more of a typical temple in the sense that it's dedicated to the god Shiva, and it has an eastward orientation as opposed to the westward orientation of Angkor Wat. I don't think that there would have been an Angkor Wat or an Angkor Thom if there hadn't been a Bakon first. One must keep in mind that roofs and overhangs provided cover over many of the entrance gates and galleries around these ancient temples. The monsoon rains and Cambodian midday sun were just as unforgiving then as they are today. For example, on the day of our trip to the site, it was about 37 degrees Celsius in the shade. Okay, we made it. Here we are at the top. Even after Bakon stopped being the official state temple, it was never abandoned. And at some point, religious worship transferred from Hinduism to Buddhism. And to this day, there's a small Buddhist shrine here in the Temple Mount, once dedicated to Shiva. In Angkor Wat, the representation of Mount Meru is 5 peaks. If you notice here, in the Bakon, the Temple Mountain has only 1 peak representing Mount Meru. About the same time as the Bakon was being built, a great barai, an immense rectangular reservoir, was constructed just north of the temple. This artificial catch basin was part of a vast irrigation system which would only become more sophisticated and unwieldy as the centuries wore on. Long gone, the man-made lake was vital for agriculture and servicing the capital. Decades later, the Temple of Lolai would be built at its very center. In the era of Hariharalaya's prominence, medieval Western Europe was only beginning to coalesce after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. England was not yet a unified kingdom, nor did the Kingdom of Spain exist, and the age of the Vikings was in its infancy. Most of the great cathedrals were yet to be built, and manorial feudalism had caused many European urban areas to shrink rather than grow. By contrast, Hariharalaya and its successor capitals would support large populations and enjoy a level of sophistication that would have been the envy of any Carolinian or Aragonese court. Lolai was built after the Khmer capital had shifted to the northwest, where Angkor Wat would eventually rise. The temple was dedicated to Shiva and the royal family. The interesting thing about Lolai is that it was an island temple, rising up from a great rectangular barai that silted up centuries ago when the Khmer irrigation system in the region failed. This temple consists of 4 brick towers that are currently being restored. Not long before the island temple's construction, the capital had already moved, but its importance as a holy site didn't diminish. Okay, so here we still are at Lolai, and you could really appreciate the brickwork indicative of early Khmer construction. And if you notice, behind me, you can hear the conservationists busy at work. Good, good.
Yeah. Excuse me, where you
Too
from?
hot, too hot.
Yeah, very hot day.
Very, very hot.
Yeah. Excuse me, where you from?
Well, I've been living the last 2 years in Syria.
Oh, yeah. So long time.
Just to repair it.
Yeah, right. And the big tree here, no cement.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I have motor with here. I mix something including like palm sugar.
Oh, really?
Yes.
In the mortar?
Yeah, palm sugar, seashell, brick powder and sand. I make together. After I think piece of the brick, this is no cement.
Palm sugar, seashells,
Brick powder.
brick powder, and sand, correct?
And sand, yeah, right. Yeah.
Wow.
Right, yeah. This is a new brick, yeah.
These are the original bricks?
Yeah.
And these are the new ones?
A new one, it's new one, yeah. We have to make from the bottom to the top. To top. But here you have whole stucco before. In the 9th century, it has all around stucco.
Yeah.
But now no stucco, only brick here.
Yeah. All the brick was covered by stucco,
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
come off. The
Yeah, right.
plasterwork.
Yeah, yeah. But now stucco destroyed by the tree. Yeah, by the tree. Yeah.
So in early Angkorian architecture, you saw brick. The transfer to sandstone came a little later. And in Thailand, they still used brick until the 12th century. Whereas here, they started using more sandstone, less brick, sometime in the 11th century.
Around here, more than 20 temple. More than, but only 3 main temple. Lolei, Pretu, and Bakong, new temple. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. This is human from history temple. History of Cambodia. But okay, I'm interesting question about when about Egyptian. Yeah.
At the end of the 9th century, in the year 889 of the Common Era, Indravarman died at Hariharalaya. The city would remain a revered place for the Khmer royalty as the first capital of Angkor. However, the monarch's son, Yasovarman I, would upon his ascension move the capital to the northwest, to the city of Phnom Penh, not far from the present site of Angkor Wat.